Hello everybody, I am Fuzzyface. Welcome back to another edition of this Motorsport Manager career. We're back today for round 6 Vancouver, the Canadian Grand Prix. Finally, we can bring our upgraded engine to the races. We've upgraded the engine ever so slightly. It's gained maybe, how much has it gained? Maybe 60 points. But if you remember previously, we did have the 8th best overall rated engine. We now have jumped above Renault, Porsche, McLaren. We're up there right in 4th. We still have the best. We still have the 3rd best overall rated car. The gearbox is pretty much there or thereabouts. It's above average, just behind the Porsche, but the rest of the parts still looking really strong. The brakes, the suspension, the rear wing, still the best in the series at the moment. The front wing not that far off the Ferrari. Our car not overall that much behind. So hopefully, Vancouver, we're going to have a good performance. Unfortunately though, we do have a little bit of bad news going into the race. Lando Norris is not feeling with it. He's really struggling with his driving at the moment, and it doesn't feel like anything he's doing is really connected with the car. So he's going to speak to a sports psychologist basically, and should be back to normal by the next race. But for this race he's got bad form, which means his form is won during the race, as we saw in the last race. He had one form for pretty much most of that race as well. But here he's going to be one. He's not going to have any chance of his form going up. So he's going to be a little bit off form in the race. Hopefully his race start is going to help overcome that. He's got the new engine in the car. Esteban Ocon's got a new engine as well. Both guys feeling like their car is better than the other car. Esteban Ocon is delighted. Nice to see you giving me a better car than Lando Norris. And then if we go to Lando Norris, awesome, my car is better than Esteban. So they're both happy. They're both convinced they've got a better car than the other car, which is what we want to see. Neither guy being unhappy here, but we do need a decent race here. Hopefully we should be above the Porsche now, because we're better in every other area than the Porsche. Other than the gearbox, we've got a better car overall now, once again, than the Red Bull. So hopefully we're going to be there or thereabouts. The Mercedes and the Ferrari have overtaken the Aston Martin engine as well. Aston Martin slightly falling behind there on their engine development. So Fernando and Carlos Sainz possibly a little bit slower. Possibly explains their slowdown over the last race, as in Cape Town they were 7th and 8th. So sort of explains that. They are still currently leading the Constructors' Championship, but haven't had a win this season. So far this season though, we've had 4 teams win a race. Porsche, us, Ferrari and Mercedes. So just what we wanted. Everything is shaken up here, and we've still got 5 teams that are in with a chance of winning the Constructors' Championship. We're going to jump right into the race weekend. We're going to skip over practice as usual. It's a 38 lap race here at Vancouver, and we'll be back in a second to see how our upgraded engines work during qualifying. So here we go with qualifying. We looked pretty decent in practice with the new engines and new upgrades that we've got in the car. Hopefully we're going to be inside the top 10 pretty easily for this Grand Prix, but you never know, we might be way off it. Lando Norris half a second off the first sector already, although Danny Rick was massively quicker than everyone else in practice, and he's the quickest car at the moment. What we're going to get out of Ocon, he's a little bit closer, whereas Norris isn't as slow through the second sector. Hopefully whatever we get off this first lap is just going to be a baseline indicator, and we're going to be really able to improve on that on our second lap in qualifying. But as it is, Norris at the moment is only second slowest. Ocon not that much quicker, even with these new upgrades in the car. We're just really struggling for pace at the moment, and even with the upgraded engines, a 4th best overall rated engine in the car, look at that, we're just really struggling for pace here, almost a second off. Although as we know, Norris is on really bad form at the moment, but it still doesn't explain Ocon for this race. Look at where we are at. We're behind. Well, the Red Bull of Science is not that close at the moment, but we're behind the McLaren, which we shouldn't be. Behind a Renault, behind both Renaults. It's just a bit puzzling what's going on with the car at the moment. Just not getting any raw pace out of this car. I thought we would be a lot better this weekend in Vancouver with the new upgraded engines, but can't do anything about it. We'll just have to see what we can get out of this car on our final qualifying lap. And here we go with that final qualifying lap. Hopefully Norris can improve. He is currently sat in 18th position. Ocon currently 14th position. Doesn't do a good job with temperatures, which is just what we didn't want. Norris, meanwhile, is he going to go quicker in this first sector than his last lap? Is he? Can we see a quicker lap? No, he's gone quicker, but he's still 6 tenths down. Absolutely abysmal here. 6 tenths down over the first sector. So is Ocon. He's going quicker though. But we're not going quick enough that we're going to be able to crack the top 10 here. Just absolutely abysmal from both of these cars at the moment. Norris comes across the line. Improves. At least he goes 13th. That's not too bad. Can we see Ocon crack the top 10? 12th place. Both cars outside the top 10 here, even with upgraded engines. Just not going well for us at the moment behind both Renaults, the Renault of Gasly and Pascal Wehrlein. Still a lot of work to do and not much that we can actually upgrade in the car this season, so it looks like this season's just going to be a long hard one. Obviously we need to be keeping Frank Williams happy somehow, but anyway, we'll get to it. We'll be back in a second and we'll go over the grid. Just try and figure something out strategy wise to try and get us up the order. So here we go with the grid for the 2021 Vancouver Grand Prix, and just as we thought, we might not have the best of races. It's like the gods have answered our prayers. The rain has come, the heavens have opened. It's going to be a rainy race, possibly for the full race. So everyone is starting the race on the intermediates. We obviously usually do pretty well in the wet. Lando Norris does have that wet weather pro stat now as well. Unfortunately his form will be off for the entire race, but anyway, here is the grid. Nico Hülkenberg picks up his first pole position of the season in that Mercedes, doing really well. Daniel Ricciardo is second in the Ferrari. Lewis Hamilton is on the grid right behind his teammate in the Mercedes, third place for him. Fernando Alonso fourth in the Red Bull. Charles Leclerc is fifth in the Ferrari, and Valtteri Bottas once again doing really well in that McLaren, sixth place for him. Max Verstappen, who won the last race, is 7th for this race, followed by Carlos Sainz in the Red Bull. Sebastian Vettel finds himself all the way down in 9th place, and Pierre Gasly currently, he is 10th place in the Renault, getting his Renault car up into the top 10. His teammates just behind him in the second Renault, 11th place for him, and then we get the first of our drivers, Esteban Ocon, in 12th. George Russell finally over his injuries as well is 13th in the McLaren. Lando Norris, his form is going to be way off for this race all the way through, but hopefully we can get something going with him. He's 14th. Joseph Newgarden gets himself up to 15th in that Haas car. The ART of Stoffel Vandoorne is 16th. Alex Lynn is 17th in the Sauber. Sergio Perez is 18th in the ART. Roman Grosjean is 19th in the Haas, and then all the way at the back, Antonio Giovinazzi in that Ferrari powered Sauber there right on the back of the grid. Hopefully we can get a decent start here. We're not going to push these tyres too much in the early going. There is going to be a period of really heavy rain, but I don't feel like it's going to last long enough that it's going to be worth getting onto a wet tyre. So we're just going to try and make our tyre last as long as we can. These intermediates can do 14 laps, so it's going to be a 2-stop race if the rain goes for the entirety of the race, which it looks like it's possibly going to do. There might be a period right at the end where there's going to be some really wet weather, so what we want to do is just hold off as well with what we're doing with the tyres, because if that rain does come really heavy at the end of the race and there's maybe 8 or so laps where the wet tyre takes effect, we do really want to be holding out for that position to try and get these inters as far as we can into the Grand Prix. Ocon has made a pretty decent start, almost. He's sort of fighting with these cars around him. Norris, meanwhile, is all the way down in 20th place, way off form here. But he is a wet weather expert, the wet weather pro, +2 overall. Says I'm singing in the rain there for the wet weather pro. He's currently, Ocon has fallen back down the order here, so is that rain going to get heavier? We're not going to be able to see it until another lap goes by, so we're just going to keep neutral, because if it does get any heavier, we do want to just make sure we can stretch out until that point, but we're not going to be able to tell until we get partway into the next lap whether that rain is going to get heavy enough for a wet tyre later on in this Grand Prix, whereas Norris is currently fighting with and gets past Sergio Perez in the ART. Is he going to get both Saubers here? He gets the Sauber of Antonio Giovinazzi, can get the Sauber of Alex Lynn around the hairpin, whereas Ocon manages to get past Giovinazzi and is currently going to try get past Sergio Perez. Can he get it? Dives onto the inside on that chicane, gets a good run out of the corner, gets the move done on Sergio Perez, and the rain is getting heavier at the end of the race, although it looks like it dies off there, so it's not going to get to the point where we need to go onto a wet tyre at any point in this Grand Prix. Sort of on the switch over there, but that rain is not going to last as Norris comes under pressure from Alex Lynn once again. So we're going to get pushing here. We might as well get pushing. We need to move ourselves up the order somehow. We know we've got a good car in the rain because it is really aero focused at the moment, and we've always usually done really well in the race. in the races where it has been raining, but here today, it's like the Williams that we've currently got in real life at the moment. We're just so far behind, even though we've got a really decent car. Should we split strategies here? There is a period. No, we're not even gonna, because this Inter can go a long way. We've got 5 laps out of it so far. There's no point coming in for a wet tyre at all. The rain, the heavy rain at least, is not going to last long enough for us to make a strategy where we come in for a wet tyre for maybe 4 laps work at all. Because, yeah, no, there's no point. Unless we see other cars doing it, there's no point doing it. Because we're going to lose too much time through the pit stop to try and recover under the totally wet weather to even make that strategy work. But 15th, Ocon's gone a little bit further up the road there. He's got into 13th place. He's currently on the back of Max Verstappen, who's had a really poor start to the race here. So we're just going to push this tyre all out here since the weather, the temperature really dropping off here. So it's going to be hard to get heat into these tyres. Ocon, I think he managed to get past Verstappen there briefly, did he? Whilst I was looking at the weather, but whatever, Verstappen is now back in front of him. Norris is currently 15th. That form is just killing him for this race. It's whether we can get Ocon going a little bit further up the road here. Obviously, there's not much room for pushing the tyre, considering these tyres can usually only do about 14 laps, so we do have to look after them in certain points in the race. Russell, meanwhile, down in 13th place, and that is a Renault. Renault seem to have really a lot of power coming out of corners sometimes. And that is Pierre Gasly, who just goes flying past 2 cars, although Ocon's got the inside line and should be able to get back past him here pretty easily. Ocon gets back into 12th place. It looks like if we work this right, we could be back up into the points here later on, whereas Norris is currently fighting. We're going to work something different with Norris briefly here. We're going to get him pushing, see if we can move him up the field. We should be able to outmatch this Sauber, although we've got the really heavy rain now on track, so maybe we should just hold off whilst the rain's really heavy. We don't want any crashes whilst the rain's there. Ocon, meanwhile, is battling with Pascal Wehrlein here. He doesn't quite make the move work, but he's almost up there in the points, although it's Verstappen that he has to pass. Although it's Joseph Newgarden in that Haas, who's had a really good start to the race here. Finds himself in 9th place in that Cosworth-powered Haas car at the moment, whereas Ocon is still fighting for a way into the points here. And we're going to start seeing this rain get a little bit heavier. It actually dropped off, but the rain is subsiding here. It looks like the rain's stopping, so the rain's going to start wearing off now, so we're going to go attacking with both our cars. Hopefully we're not going to see anyone run wide as we've seen previously. Norris, meanwhile, has managed to get past Pierre Gasly here. If we can get Norris going with Ocon, we could be somehow getting both our cars back up into the points, which didn't look possible here considering how we did in qualifying. But if we can get both cars up into the points, it's going to be pretty much a result for us if we can actually do that. Meanwhile, our second and third stints on this intermediate tyre, we're going to have to be a little bit careful with them, because the way things are shaping up, we might not be able to get there. These Inters can go to 10% though, so we're just going to keep pushing for this. Maybe come in about lap 12. We need to bring one car in before the other one actually comes in, otherwise we will be double stacking in the pits. We should be able to go for a balanced pit stop and have a nice quick pit stop here as Ocon finally makes a move on Pascal Wehrlein, as does Norris on the same lap. Can Norris hold that position as well? The Renault of Wehrlein slots in behind Norris but can't get the slipstream working down into the chicane, and we've got both our cars now 11th and 12th, almost there, up there in the points. Newgarden's still doing pretty well, but obviously we should be able to get past Newgarden in that Haas car. It is the worst car in the series at the moment. So if we can actually jump that, although it looks like we're going to go for Max Verstappen here. We're just pushing all out. We're going to get Norris in, or we're going to get both cars in, which we don't want to do. So we're just going to have to hold off with one of these cars. It's going to be Norris since he's a little bit behind at the moment. And we're going to get Ocon into the pits. He's going to be coming in for another intermediate tyre. We can go balance. The pit stop time is 1.6 seconds. Nice and quick. So Ocon is going to do this. Is he going to get Verstappen here? No, he isn't. Verstappen, though, does get the move on Joseph Newgarden. It looks like Norris in backup mode is going to battle away here with Max Verstappen as well. But Ocon gets past Verstappen and dives into the pits just as he was thinking about making a move on Joseph Newgarden. Hopefully there's going to be no mistakes here. We've had a few mistakes over the last few races. But there we go. Ocon is out of the pits. Just go high mode for a little bit because we do need to make these tyres last for maybe 14 laps or so, so then we are a little bit stronger towards the end of the race. And Norris is going to get in for his second set of intermediate tyres here. He's under pressure a little bit from the two Renaults, although he's still putting Max Verstappen under pressure here with these worn tyres. So we're going to get pushing, attacking into the pits, try and get as much speed as we can, because we managed to get past Verstappen here. We're going to get into the pits and we're going to have a chance of making the undercut working, so we should be able to get back out in front of Verstappen once he makes his pit stop, although he's going to then be on the fresher tyres. Norris, meanwhile, he's about 2 seconds back from his teammate. Now we've got our first pit stop out of the way. We've got a Ferrari of Charles Leclerc in between us here. So hopefully that puts us into a good position now to sort of get up into the points. We're going to try and get an undercut working. A lot of these cars staying out quite a long time on this intermediate tyre. Vettel has come into the pits though in the Porsche. I don't think we're going to be able to get him, although it looks like we can get back out in front of Vettel here. He's going to go around the corner. No, we don't get Vettel. The pit lane does cut out part of the first corner there, so he gets out in front, although we're in a really good position here now. We should be able to jump Verstappen pretty easily, and maybe one or two of the other cars. So hopefully we're going to be in a position here as this race goes on to move up a little bit higher in the points and have a little bit of a better finish than we did the last race, because we don't want to be in the position where our job is going to be in jeopardy as this season goes on, because we lost 16% morale in the last race from Frank Williams. We get out in front of Verstappen. Verstappen's quite a little bit further down the road here. Verstappen currently 11th place, about 4 seconds back from Norris, as we're starting to put Charles Leclerc under pressure. We do have to start looking after this tyre at some point, though. We're up into 8th and 10th here, which is pretty good. We're right on the back of Valtteri Bottas now, and we've got Sebastian Vettel in front. It looks like Ocon might be able to make this move on Sebastian Vettel as well. Ocon does get through. Our car just seemingly works really well in the rain for some reason or another. Whether it is because we're strong with the aero, but even when we didn't have the strongest aero package, our car just worked really well in the rain. I don't know whether it's because the AI is maybe a little bit more conservative in the rain, but we're just going to switch back now for a little bit. We're sort of putting Vettel under pressure, but we're wasting too much and trying to catch him. We've got Norris right on the back of Charles Leclerc. Should we try and get him past and then conserve the tyre, since his tyre wear is a little bit better at the moment? See if we can get him past Charles Leclerc and then switch to conserving these tyres, because we do need these to go to around about lap 24, 25. Could even come in early and then try a different strategy if we've got one of the cars outside the point, switch to a wet tyre right at the end, because the rain is going to be really heavy for what could be the last 3 or 4 laps really. So if we just keep pushing here with Lando Norris, he's sort of in the points at the moment. We might just risk something later on in the race, depending on how close it looks like things could be. It is about a 20-second pit stop, and you would have to pick that up over the 4 laps maybe, which is what would put me against trying to do that. Meanwhile, these tyres are overheated now, so we're just going to cool down with Norris for a little bit now. He's pretty much on a par with his tyre wear with Esteban Ocon as we move into the middle part of this race, right at the halfway point. 8th and 10th currently. We're not really chasing down any other cars at the moment, although we're still there with Vettel, we're still there with Charles Leclerc as well. We're now currently on lap 22. Leclerc's managed to get away from Lando Norris a bit, where everyone's still in the same position. Ocon is still following Vettel, but Vettel's managed to get away down the road a little bit. Norris, meanwhile, was under pressure from Verstappen for a little bit, but Verstappen started to fall back. We're just really just waiting until we need to make a pit stop. Ocon is going to be coming into the pits first, since his tyre wear is a little bit more than Norris's, since he got into the pits first. He's a lap further along than Norris on these tyres, but just really sort of holding off Leclerc. Hopefully we can get something going with this last pit stop. We're right at the point for the crossover pretty much at the moment. We're going to try and get one more lap out of this tyre for Ocon. We can get 2 more out of it for Lando Norris. So we're going to get Ocon pushing from this point. Once he comes around, we're just going to set up his pit stop. He's going to go on to this Inter, which should just about see him through to the end of the race. Obviously, there is a period where the wet tyre is going to work right at the end of the race, and maybe we should risk something from that. We do need to move ourselves up the order here, because 8th and 10th is not going to be good enough for keeping Frank Williams happy. But if we go outside of the points, obviously it's not going to be as good as a finish, and possibly Frank Williams will be even more unhappy with us. So we do need to make something go here. The tyres are just about worn on Esteban Ocon. He gets right into the pits, right on the tyres just wearing out there. So we're going to get Norris pitting this time. He's going to come in for his last set of intermediates. 14 laps. We're a little bit on the nose here for what we can get out of this tyre over this last point of this race, but we're out into 13th at the moment. If we can get a little bit more undercut working, yeah, there's not a real distance to go to Sebastian Vettel, who's currently 6th now. Charles Leclerc there in 7th, so that is what we're aiming for. Carlos Sainz has made a pit stop really early as well, like we have. We've got, that's the 7th, have we seen, yeah, Leclerc's in the pit, Hulkenberg's in the pits as well. So Norris is in, and we're out in front of Charles Leclerc. What an amazing pit stop there. We get out in front of Charles Leclerc, so we're just going to push for a little bit here with Lando Norris. We know we can push for maybe a lap to keep him in front of Charles Leclerc. What an amazing pit stop there from our guys. I don't know what the Ferraris did, whether there was a mistake, whether they just have slow pit stop. We know we do have the best pit stops in the game. We are sub 2 seconds. I don't know whether any of the other AI teams are sub 2 seconds at the moment. But we need to start conserving this tyre now for a little bit, so we'll just switch back briefly. Meanwhile, we can just keep pushing with Norris. We want to keep him ahead of Charles Leclerc. And if we can clear Pascal Wehrlein, who does need to pit as well, another time, if we can just clear Pascal Wehrlein, and then hopefully he can hold up Charles Leclerc for the last half of this lap or so. Well, it looks like Leclerc's going to get past him pretty easily, so we're just going to switch back with Norris as well. We don't want these tyres wearing out before the end of the race. Although if we do, we can follow that riskier strategy of trying for the wet weather, depending on when that thunderstorm comes. It's a little bit too late in the race to go onto the full wets for that last section of the race, those last couple of laps. So we're just playing it by ear here, as we've got around about here. We've got 10 laps remaining. The Mercedes, or the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton, is making his final pit stop. So we've got the Red Bull of Fernando Alonso out in front at the moment, looking comfortable to get through to the end of this race as the race winner. We've got Danny Rick in 2nd in the Ferrari, and Hulkenberg in the Mercedes is 3rd, having done 2. Hamilton in the Mercedes is 4th. Sainz in the Red Bull is 5th. Bottas in the McLaren still doing really well, and then we've got the Porsche of Sebastian Vettel, and then we've got Ocon and Norris is a little bit further up the road, about 3.5 seconds back from Sebastian Vettel. Just holding on to these two positions, 8th and 9th. It's possibly going to be the best we can get here as we start to see Norris's tyres overheat a little bit. He's right in line with Esteban Ocon now, but he does need to cool these tyres down a little rapidly. So we're going to just switch back to backup mode. Hopefully that's not going to let Leclerc past. And then he switched to neutral. These should just start cooling down because the weather is pretty cool. They're not really going to get any hotter. So we can just keep going like this now. And it's just whether that heavy rain at the end of the race is going to maybe get a crash. If we get a crash in a safety car, is it even then we possibly finish the race behind the safety car if anyone's pushing too much at that point. 8 laps remaining. It looks like Charles Leclerc's finally got the measure of Lando Norris in that much quicker Ferrari car. Not much we can do about that. We're just going to try cool these tyres down really rapidly now, try and recover some fuel, and then maybe we'll be able to push at Charles Leclerc really late in this race. Or should we just risk it? Well, we're going to go for it. We're going to go for it with Norris. We're just going to hold off with Ocon because it's going to be too much pushing for that 4-second gap with Vettel, and it's going to be too much to try and chase him down. He's pushing all out at the moment as well. So what we're going to do is Norris, we're going to get him pushing. 20 seconds is a lot to overcome though for that last few laps, whether we want to actually go for that strategy. But as it is, if we just get these tyres to the point of overheating, if we can get back past Charles Leclerc here by pushing all out rather than trying to conserve, we do. Norris makes an excellent move there. We'll switch back to medium really quickly. Hopefully now 9th place. That's going to be a good finish. We've got some cars on the wet tyre, so it's just about whether we can watch them, although the track is nowhere near suitable enough at the moment. Is there going to be 4 laps here right at the end of the race? Because that rain is coming. That rain is coming for 3 laps. Should we risk it with one of our cars? I don't think we should. Although we're seeing Russell and Newgarden get in for wet tyres with this Inter half done. Should we do what they're doing? 65.6. What are we getting out of these cars? Is anyone else coming to the pits? We've seen a lot of the back cars. Alonso's pitting as well for the wet tyre. Oh, is it going to be... yeah, there's quite a lot. This rain is coming. So we're going to risk it. Looks like everyone else has gone round maybe. Is everyone else coming into the pits? Are we going to see everyone pit for this wet tyre? does look that way. Yeah, everyone's coming in for the wet, so we're just going to have to respond here. It does work out for us a little bit if we can get nice quick pit stops, because we do have the best pit crew in the game. We'll just make sure we put the wet tyres on Esteban Ocon there. Hopefully someone stays out. We managed to make a jump if the AI makes a mistake here. Everyone's in. Oh, and that is, who is that staying out? That's Bottas and Sainz who are taking the risk here. The rain is here for about 4 laps. Hopefully we're not going to double stack here with no mistakes. There we go, in and out. We can push this tyre all out now because it is really fresh. We can keep pushing with the fuel as well. So we're currently 10th and 11th. We've got quite a few cars that haven't decided to pit. Can we catch those cars? That is the question. We've got Verstappen in front, 6.2 seconds. How much quicker are we on this wet tyre? We're gaining rapidly. Are they going to pit? We see Sainz pit, maybe a lap too late. Can we get the jump on Sainz? No, we can't. Has anyone else decided to pit? No, they haven't. So we've got Verstappen, Leclerc that we can maybe catch. Vettel is a little bit too far up the road for us to catch, but we're just going to keep pushing this tyre all out. We are going to have to recover the fuel though. So we'll just switch down here. But hopefully we can keep going. We're going to get the jump on Verstappen and Leclerc here. So we're going to move up into at least 8th place with Ocon, which is going to happen now. We should be able to do that with Lando Norris. This would have been an excellent race for him if he hadn't had the bad form of 1 for this entire race. Can he catch up now as well? He's about to be on the back of Verstappen and Leclerc. He's going to get this moved on both these cars down the straight. Why are they decided to stay out on the Inters? We'll never know. But are we quick enough to catch up to Vettel with 2 laps remaining? We're about 4 seconds quicker. We're 6 seconds down. So can we catch Sebastian Vettel before the end of the race? We don't really have the pace to do that with Norris. It looks like we could have the pace to do that with Ocon. Over 2 laps here. Can we do it? With 3.5 seconds behind, it looks like we're going to catch Vettel. Bottas is another animal entirely. I don't think we're going to be able to catch Bottas here unless they decide to pit, which we sometimes see from the AI cars. We're going to get this move done on Sebastian Vettel. It looks like Lando Norris could be in with a chance of doing that. We do have room to go to high mode now for this last lap as well. Maybe even overtake mode down the straight if we can get Ocon somewhere close to Bottas, but it doesn't look like that's going to be a factor here. We're going to go overtake mode though, just in case, and just watch the fuel and try and switch back to high mode, because once you're in attack mode the fuel doesn't really go down. But can we get Vettel here before the end of the race? Looks like Norris might be able to make that work. Ocon is pretty close here as well. Get him into overtake mode. Can he get it down the pit? And he does. Does he? Does he? We got Bottas right on the line there. Can Leclerc do that? Norris has managed to get past Vettel as well. Norris has managed to get past Vettel. So from the doldrums there of what was looking like a disappointing race, we somehow managed to get up into 6 and 8. The AI taking a real risk on going on that Inter for a long time with Bottas, Vettel, Verstappen and Leclerc. All cars we managed to pass. Norris though couldn't get quite close enough to Bottas to make it work, but we passed 2 cars there on the last corner down to the start finish line. So it's actually made me a little bit happy that we've actually managed to achieve a 6th and an 8th there. Meanwhile, we have 1 Red Bull in front of us. Do we know the Red Bull? Fernando Alonso won the race. We have 1 Ferrari in front of us and 1 Ferrari out of the points, although I think we're going to be finishing this race 4th overall, because both Mercedes finish ahead in 3rd and 4th. The Ferrari of Ricciardo 2nd. A really strong race for the Red Bulls there. McLaren picking up points in 7th. Vettel 9th in the Porsche. Pierre Gasly 10th in the Renault. Verstappen outside the Porsche team taking a risk. The Ferrari team taking a risk with Charles Leclerc. Put them outside the points there. Scrutineering. Hopefully someone's running a risky part to push us up the order, but it isn't looking that way. We pick up 12 points overall. Lando Norris and Esteban Ocon stay in 6th and 7th. Sandy Rick moves up to 2nd place in the Drivers' Championship. Fernando Alonso finally moves above his teammate Carlos Sainz. He had a really strong start to the season, but Fernando Alonso is now coming back stronger. Lewis Hamilton retains top spot, whereas outside we've got Hülkenberg 8th, Leclerc 9th, Bottas 10th, Verstappen is there in 5th. Last year's Drivers' Champion though, Sebastian Vettel, struggling this year in the Porsche, 11th place for him. And we move on to the Constructors' Championship, where still 4th overall. Red Bull Still retain top spot, Mercedes 2nd, Ferrari 3rd, Porsche 5th, McLaren 6th, Renault 7th, ART 8th, Alfa Romeo Sauber 9th, and Haas still yet to pick up a point this year on 0 points for the season. So we came 4th overall. Hopefully that's not going to make the chairman too unhappy, but we're already at 66% happiness. 10% for finishing 1 place below 3rd. Why? Why is he so unhappy? I really don't want to be sacked from this team, since we put in so much effort, and that is everything that we build at the moment. I might just have to see if I can adjust it some way, because I don't want to move to another team just yet. I don't want that to be a thing. But why would we lose 10% happiness just for finishing 1 place below the expected result? Ridiculous. £1 million coming out of the bank account. I don't think we've got an F2 race this weekend. Oh, we do. Nick De Vries winning once again in the Volvo Polestar. Ralph Aaron getting that Prema car all the way up to 2nd, and Pietro Fittipaldi once again on the podium. Marcus Ericsson in the 2nd Volvo Polestar, so they could be putting Toro Rosso under some real pressure now. Dan Ticktum, who is in the other Toro Rosso, he came 5th. Kubica in the Infinity Dams is 6th. Matthew Sita in the Carlin is 7th. Makino in that Infinity Dams still having a breakaway season here. As we said before, Rosenquist should have had that seat, but Dams obviously know better. They keep putting a lower rated driver in Makino there, but he keeps getting up into the points. Maybe if Rosenquist was in that seat, they would be fighting a little bit better with the Toro Rosso and the Volvo Polestar team. Rossi in the points as he usually is with the Andretti, but Magnussen still struggling in that BMW, and Latifi once again outside the points. So as we move over, it's really close between the Volvo Polestar team. Nick De Vries finally looks like he might have found his way into Formula 1 if Volvo can outperform Toro Rosso this season, but Toro Rosso still hold that top spot. Jaguar not doing too badly at the moment. Callum Ilott, Brendan Hartley usually up there in the points, although Brendan Hartley was outside the points this race. Where was he overall? 16th overall, not the best race from him. Infinity Dams the 4th, BMW 5th. Prema move above Andretti with that really good finish from Ralph Aaron. So Andretti way off the pace here. They've got a pretty decent car for this level here, but they are with the Honda power, just as we are, hoping that we can get the Honda power sorted for them. Possibly why they're off the pace like we are this season at the moment. But anyway, we'll skip over GP3 because it doesn't really matter. It's just a hodgepodge of drivers in there at the moment. And we'll get the interview going with ESPN. It's simple, which of your drivers is better? If you say not answering that, you do lose marketability, so it's pretty difficult between these two, but Lando Norris is usually the better one this season, so we'll go with Lando. Keeps him happy there. Pit crew review, 1.6 seconds, quickest pit stop of the season so far. Alonso wins overall. We just look at the drivers at the moment, see how they're performing against each other. Norris is currently ahead of Ocon in the World Championship. He has more points obviously from there. They both equal each other on podiums. They've both out-qualified each other 3 times. Ocon meanwhile though has outraced Lando Norris 4 races to 2, but Lando Norris does have that 1 win this season, which is keeping him ahead at the moment. But anyway, that is it for this episode. A little bit better than I thought we would do. We've got our home Grand Prix coming up next time, which is Guildford, which is a race we usually do really well at. But last season we did really well there because we did have the strongest engine, which we don't have this season. But hopefully our home Grand Prix goes to plan here. Hopefully we can keep Frank Williams happy. Hopefully he's not thinking about firing us. But anyway, that is it for this episode. Like, comment, subscribe, all the usual stuff. But until next time, I'll see you down the road in Guildford for the British Grand Prix, and goodbye.